The city of Chicago settled into dusk like a heavy coat being shrugged off after a long day. Overhead, the skies dulled to a muddy lavender, while streams of taillights bled red across the freeway. At O'Hare International Airport, the ebb and flow of humanity surged through terminals under the cold hum of fluorescent lights. People hurried, some dragging roller bags with one arm and clutching overpriced coffee with the other, others shouldering backpacks, clutching tickets, frowning at delays. Everyone was trying to get somewhere. Among the blur moved a tall, sharply dressed black man. His stride was unhurried, his gaze steady, scanning, aware. He wore a perfectly cut navy suit, not flashy, just clean. His silver-streaked hair was trimmed close, his posture upright, and he carried only a slim leather briefcase and a black shoulder bag. No checked luggage. No entourage. Just him. That was intentional. He liked to travel light and unnoticed. His name was Marcus Devlin, and he wasn't just another businessman flying in from the nation's capital. He was the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He didn't flaunt it. Few people even recognized him in public. That was by design. The fewer who knew his face, the better. But anyone paying attention to his movements would have noticed the precision with which he navigated crowds, the instinctive awareness of exits and potential choke points, the subtle body language of someone trained to remain calm in chaos. Marcus had just stepped off a direct flight from Washington, D.C. after a classified briefing overseas. His purpose in Chicago was short, strategic, and confidential. He was due to meet with federal agents about a high-level case involving cross-border trafficking, and after that, he'd be on his way to Denver by morning. A whisper of a presence. Just as he liked it. But tonight, the quiet would be broken. Across the terminal near Gate B12, two uniformed officers from the Chicago Police Department stood watching the crowd. Officer Larry Klein, a white cop with a bulldog jaw and a heavy-lidded stare, shifted restlessly. 27 years on the job had made him cynical, quick to act, slow to reflect. His record was smudged with complaint, mostly excessive force, profiling, procedural violations, but somehow nothing ever stuck. He knew how to keep his mess beneath the surface. Next to him was Officer Sean Weber, younger by 2 decades, still wearing the wide-eyed loyalty of someone who hadn't yet figured out how much of the system was built on shadows. He admired Klein, saw him as a man who got things done. But Weber hadn't been on the job long enough to distinguish confidence from corruption. Their shift had dragged. Low energy. False alarms. Until a crackle came through the radio. Possible suspicious mail. Black solo traveler? Dark clothing. Moving through Gate B12. Klein's eyes sharpened. He grinned like someone who'd been given a green light to stir up trouble. There, he muttered, pointing as Marcus emerged from the gate. Weber hesitated. He's just walking, man. Fits the description, Klein snapped. Let's check him out. They moved quickly. No greeting. No explanation. Hey, sir. Stop right there, Klein barked, already reaching for his belt. Marcus turned calmly, not flinching. Can I help you? Weber hung back, unsure, while Klein stepped forward too close, violating space that wasn't his to invade. You match a report, Klein said flatly. Suspicious individual loitering near Gate B12. Marcus didn't blink. What exactly about me was suspicious? Klein didn't bother answering. Let's see some ID. I'm happy to comply, Marcus said, reaching slowly into his inside pocket, practiced and deliberate. But I'd like to know under what reasonable suspicion you're detaining me. Klein's nostrils flared. Oh, we got a real smart one. He snatched the ID from Marcus's hand. Marcus Devlin, huh? What brings you to Chicago all dressed up like that? You don't look like you're here to visit Navy Pier. Marcus's jaw flexed. Business. Weber echoed him uncertainly. Business. You a lawyer or something? Something, Marcus replied coolly. Or maybe you're moving something. You got that slick look. Real smooth. Marcus's patience thinned. You have my ID. There's no cause to continue this line of questioning. Klein stepped in closer. You think you're above this? Above us? I think I know my rights, Marcus answered, voice level. And you're harassing a U.S. citizen without probable cause. The word harassing was gasoline. Klein exploded. Who the hell do you think you are? He snapped, grabbing Marcus's arm. Marcus pulled back instinctively. Don't touch me. In an instant, Weber lunged. Both officers slammed into Marcus, dragging him down. The scuffle was sharp, uneven, unnecessary. Marcus didn't punch. He didn't kick. He resisted only enough to avoid injury. But they cuffed him, forced him to the ground right there in front of dozens of travelers. Phones came out. Gasps cut the air. Someone screamed, "Stop," but it was already too late. The handcuffs clicked shut. A black man in a tailored suit was now face down on the floor of one of America's busiest airports, pinned under two white cops. Klein leaned in, face flushed with adrenaline. "You're gonna learn some damn respect." Marcus's chest rose and fell, his breathing fast. Not from exertion, but fury. Then he looked up, eyes sharp, voice steady. "I'm Marcus Devlin, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." Time halted. Klein blinked. "You're what?" "The director of the FBI." Weber stumbled backward like he'd touched a live wire. Klein froze. Oh God!" He fumbled with the cuffs as if they were burning his hands. "Sir, we didn't know," Weber stammered. "Please, we didn't know." Klein dropped to his knees like a man about to beg. "Director Devlin, it was a misunderstanding." Marcus stood, slowly, straightened his blazer despite the soreness in his wrists. His silence thundered. A new voice rang out. "What's happening here?" Lieutenant Daniel Mercer, a middle-aged officer with a clean record and a calm demeanor, had arrived with two more officers in tow. He looked from the handcuffs to Marcus to the stammering men in uniform. His face paled. "Sir, are you?" "I'm Director Devlin," Marcus said evenly. "And I've just been assaulted, detained, and handcuffed by two of your officers without cause. Based entirely on race." Mercer turned to his men. "Officers Klein and Weber, surrender your weapons and badges. Now." Phones kept recording. Witnesses gaped. Passengers whispered. The airport paused for history. Klein's face was ashen as he handed over his firearm. Weber's hands trembled as he removed his badge. And that was only the beginning. By morning, the headlines were everywhere. FBI director illegally detained at O'Hare. Video goes viral. Clips of the takedown looped on every news network. Pundits dissected each frame. Social media roared with fury. Hashtags exploded. Civil rights leaders weighed in. The outrage was unified, deafening. The Department of Justice launched a formal investigation within 48 hours. Internal Affairs at CPD opened an emergency audit. Bodycam footage confirmed everything. From the moment the officers saw Marcus to the moment they learned who he was. There was no ambiguity. The profiling. The unnecessary aggression. The flip from domination to desperation. Both officers were fired by the end of the week. But Marcus wasn't done. At his insistence, both Klein and Weber were federally charged with deprivation of rights under color of law, a felony offense. Their trial was broadcast. The courtroom full. Journalists packed the gallery. Civil liberties groups watched with laser focus. Marcus testified. Calm. Clear. Not with venom, but with truth. He didn't perform for sympathy. He spoke for accountability. He spoke about what it meant to be stripped of dignity because of how you looked. About how easily a badge could become a weapon if unchecked. About the weight of being mistaken for a threat despite being the highest law enforcement authority in the country. The jury returned in less than a day. Guilty. Both men received 6-year federal sentences. Justice, at least in one case, had been delivered. But in his D.C. office weeks later, Marcus stood at his window staring out at Pennsylvania Avenue. Sirens blipped in the distance. The world moved on. He couldn't. Not entirely. What if I weren't the FBI director, he kept asking himself. What if I were just another black man flying for work? Would it still matter? Would I still be free? He knew the answer. That's what haunted him. He returned to his desk, reopened his files, dug back into the cases waiting for attention. The system he had dedicated his life to still had cracks. Deep ones. And if his pain had exposed them, then maybe someone without power, without rank, might walk a little safer because of it. Marcus Devlin didn't ask to be a symbol. But now he carried that weight. And he wouldn't put it down.